Moving on to staying in Georgia, actually, with the battle against studios and their stance against the abortion law that has been signed there and is scheduled to go into effect on January 1st. But Netflix has come out very strongly and said that if that happens, if it does go into effect, and there's no reason that it wouldn't at this point, they will strongly consider moving all of their productions out of Georgia. And there are a ton of productions. Now, since Netflix made that statement, Disney has also said that they will find, how did Bob Iger put it? They will find it difficult.
Yeah, they're considering doing the same thing.
It puts a lot of productions, a lot of shows that you watch in a precarious situation. One of those being the Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt. And we got one of the stars of that show, Tituss Burgess, was here in LAX, and we asked him, how do you feel as being an actor on this show? What happens if your show has to pull up stakes and leave Georgia? This is how he feels about it.
You've been with Netflix. What's your thoughts on them being the first major studio to take a stand on this heartbeat bill in Georgia and filming out there?
Well, I'm from Georgia, so it's kind of a catch-22, but I'm not proud of a bunch of old white men trying to take control of women's bodies. That's the type of ethics and morals that they are outwardly saying that they stand for, then I stand with Netflix, not because they're my boss. I think that's the right thing to do.
And they were saying, look, we're gonna keep supporting to stop this, but until it's like bona fide law, then we're gonna, have to really consider pulling out.
More people should pull out.
And
see what he did there?
I'm just going to say it. It's like, I think this Georgia law is horrible, personally. I mean, that's my opinion, is I think it's draconian and horrible. But the reality is that a bunch of old white men, and one African-American, actually did say what women can do with their bodies in Roe versus Wade.
Right.
Because they distinguished between the first, second, and third trimester. So I think the real issue, I think it's just being mischaracterized, that the real issue is that Roe versus Wade, just in case you didn't know this, Roe versus Wade was decided after Justice Harry Blackmun, who wrote the majority decision, actually spent a summer at the Mayo Clinic, and he learned the science of a lot of this, and a lot of that decision is rooted in science.
Right.
And the question is, are those regulations, which are regulations, are they going to stand? And that's the wild card, because the Supreme Court has changed, and we don't know how the Supreme Court is going to rule on something like that. Right. But the idea of, when everybody keeps saying old white men decided Roe versus Wade, and that's what people are trying to preserve. That's the only point I want to make.
You want to stand up for old white men?
No, a particular group.
I was trying to figure out where this was going.
And by the way,
I know you're saying.
Thurgood Marshall was also in the court then too. Right. So there you go.
All right.
Hi, this is Chris from Northern Virginia. I just want to piggyback on what Tituss Burgess said. You're going to have to hit them in the pocket so they'll realize what's really going on. You need companies like Netflix and Disney to stand up for women, unfortunately. For them to make these decisions about women's bodies, for women who have been victimized by rape, even child rape. Come on. I don't understand how we flip back 70 years.
Yeah. Well, that's going to be the question. This is all designed to go to the U.S. Supreme Court. It will, even this court, where they've got this 6-week rule, I just don't think this court's going to buy it, but you just know.